Have you ever looked around at the billions of faces in this world and quietly wondered, why me? Why, out of all the people across time and space, did God single you out? Why did He whisper your name into eternity before you even took your first breath? There's a reason you've never fit in. There's a reason you've felt the weight of something greater pressing against your spirit. You weren't meant to blend in. You were called to stand out. Not for fame, not for fortune, but for a divine purpose wrapped in mystery and written in heaven's own hand. If your soul has ever burned with questions you couldn't explain, if you've ever walked through darkness yet held onto a light that no one else seemed to see, then you're in the right place. Comment 777 below if you've ever felt chosen, even when the world made you feel forgotten. To those of you who have supported this mission through super thanks, I see you, I thank you, and I pray that what you give in faith returns to you multiplied in favor, grace, and divine acceleration. Whether you've donated or simply shown up with an open heart, your presence here is part of a divine appointment, and I honor that. So I ask you now, what if the very struggles you've faced were never punishments, but preparation? What if your delays were divine detours designed to protect you until your appointed time arrived? Could it be that this message appearing before you now is not a coincidence, but a confirmation? In this video, we will peel back the layers of spiritual illusion and uncover the hidden truth behind your divine selection. We will explore what the Bible reveals about those God marks and sets apart, and we'll look at the signs that your life has been orchestrated from the beginning for something that others simply cannot carry. Get ready, chosen one, because by the end of this message, you won't just know why God picked you. You'll begin to see the unstoppable purpose He's been awakening in you all along. Let's go deeper now. Your destiny awaits. God's chosen ones. Why did God pick you out of billions? Out of the billions of souls spread across realms visible and invisible, through dimensions that stretch beyond the comprehension of the human mind, your light, yes, your light, shone with a brilliance that heaven could not ignore. In a sea of energy and existence, your essence radiated something rare. It wasn't just beauty or strength, but a unique harmony of resilience, compassion, and divine courage that called out through eternity like a forgotten melody remembered only by the Creator Himself. You see, your selection was not a coincidence. It was a cosmic recognition. You were not just noticed, you were known. God doesn't operate in randomness. As Jeremiah 1:5 declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." Long before you took your first breath, your spirit was already carrying a mission. A blueprint etched by divine hands lay within you, a spiritual frequency designed not just to survive, but to awaken, to heal, to transform. Have you ever wondered why certain people break under pressure, while you somehow endure storms with a grace you can't even explain? That's not just inner strength. That's your calling vibrating through your very soul. When God gazed upon the earth and sent out a spiritual call across the heavens, it wasn't a call for the ambitious, the loudest, or the most popular. It was a call that could only be answered by those built with sacred architecture, souls forged in the fire of endurance, humility, and unwavering truth. Many souls longed to answer that call. Many would have given anything to carry this purpose, but few were chosen, not because others were less valuable, but because the weight of such a divine assignment is not something that can be taught or forced. It must be remembered from within. And you, dear chosen one, remembered, not with words but with presence. You were seen by God. You were claimed by destiny. This wasn't a moment of accidental recognition. It was the culmination of lifetimes of preparation. You didn't just stumble upon this path. You were always on it, even when you couldn't see the way. And perhaps you felt it too, the sense that your pain wasn't random, that your isolation had purpose. Why did you feel so different from others, even as a child? Why did you sense things that no one else seemed to notice? The answer has been with you all along. You were born with sight beyond the veil. Think about Joseph, the dreamer from the book of Genesis. Betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a pit and sold into slavery, his entire life seemed like a series of unfair trials. But every single moment was leading him closer to the palace. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives, Joseph later said, Genesis 50:20. Like Joseph, your suffering has not been in vain. It was a divine setup for a greater elevation. Could it be that your tears were watering the seeds of the very kingdom you were meant to build? You've always seen behind the curtain, felt the pain masked behind laughter, recognized the chains hidden within worldly success. Others were content with surface-level truths, but you were burdened with insight. That burden, though heavy, is also your sacred gift. The same piercing perception that made you feel alone is the very tool God gave you to shift reality. And yes, there were moments you questioned yourself. You looked around and wondered, why can't I just play along? Why does this system make me feel sick to my spirit when everyone else seems so comfortable in it? Those questions weren't signs of brokenness. They were signs of alignment with something far greater. You weren't made to blend in with illusions. You were designed to dismantle them. Think of Nelson Mandela, the South African leader who endured 27 years in prison. People tried to break him, but instead he emerged with a heart even more powerful, committed to reconciliation rather than revenge. He once said, "It is said that no one truly knows a nation until one has been inside its jails." Likewise, no one can truly understand the depth of your divine mission until they've walked through the emotional and spiritual prisons you've endured. Isn't it curious how your captivity became your training ground? So here you are, marked, chosen, awakened. And the question now is not, why me? But rather, what will I do with what I now know? Understand this deeply. Your pain was never meaningless. Every betrayal you endured, every heartbreak that left you hollow, every tear-soaked prayer whispered into the dark, none of it was wasted. All of it was preparation. While others were chasing approval, you were being refined. Where many collapsed under pressure, you were being sculpted into a vessel strong enough to carry divine light without becoming arrogant or corrupted. Can you see now why the path was so heavy? Why it hurt so much? It wasn't punishment, it was sacred process. Just as gold must be refined by fire, your soul was tempered through trials. Think of David, the shepherd boy destined to be king. Before he held a crown, he held rejection. Before the throne, there were years of hiding, fighting, and questioning. Yet through it all, he remained a man after God's own heart. Acts 13:22. You too were hidden, not to be forgotten, but to be prepared. Your loneliness was never a curse. It was a consecrated womb, an invisible sanctuary where God shielded you from the noise of the world so your spirit could mature in silence. Isn't it strange how suffering often reveals what comfort tries to hide? Your pain stripped away every false identity the world tried to assign you. What was left was raw, eternal, and sacred, your true self. That version of you is the one heaven recognized long before you were born. You were chosen precisely because you refused to worship the false idols of this age. Power, vanity, comfort, conformity. When the moment came to choose, you chose love, even when hatred would have been easier. You chose to speak truth, even when silence would have protected you. You acted with courage, even when fear seemed smarter. These weren't just acts of goodness, they were declarations of alignment with heaven's values. When no one was watching, you passed tests that weren't labeled. You stayed loyal to your heart when the world begged you to betray it. Do you realize what kind of strength that takes? That kind of spiritual resilience doesn't go unnoticed by God. It's what made you ready for more. Like Queen Esther, who risked everything to save her people, you were positioned for such a time as this. Esther 4:14. And just like her, you didn't seek power, but when purpose came knocking, you didn't run from it. None of this means you are perfect. In fact, the opposite may feel true. Like Paul, you may carry a thorn in the flesh, 2 Corinthians 12:7, something that humbles you and reminds you of your need for grace. But take heart. God never asked for perfection. God looks for the willing, the faithful, the ones whose hearts remain open after everything tried to shut them down. You are not disqualified by your scars. Your wounds are not shameful. They're your credentials. They prove that you've been in the trenches, and now you can help others out of theirs. There is a holy alchemy that you carry, a divine blend of humility and inner strength, of gentleness that doesn't break and power that doesn't dominate. Where did you get this balance? From the crushing, from the wilderness, from the nights when all you had was faith. This spiritual equilibrium is what makes you trustworthy. Not everyone can bridge worlds, but you can, because you've lived in between logic and intuition, between suffering and redemption, between despair and destiny. When others see only chaos, you discern a pattern. When the world breaks, you quietly begin to build. You are the living proof that darkness doesn't win. You are the walking evidence that healing is real, and that heaven still intervenes in the affairs of man. Could it be that your very existence is the answer to someone else's prayer? This world, fractured, frightened, and fading, is crying out for light bearers. Old systems are imploding, corruption is being exposed, and fear is multiplying, spreading like wildfire. But you, yes, you were made for this moment. You were built to walk through the fire without burning, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in Daniel 3. While others bowed to fear, they stood firm, and the fire that was meant to destroy them became the very place where God showed up visibly. That same presence is with you. Your love is not weak. It's the most potent force in a world driven by fear. Your vision cuts through illusion. Your steady presence is like medicine in a room full of chaos. That's why you must rise, not for applause, not to be admired, but because rising is your nature. You were not designed to shrink. There is a fire inside you that was placed there by the hand of God, not to be hidden in comfort or dulled by distraction. It's a holy blaze meant to ignite transformation. That fire was never about you alone. It was placed in you to light up nations, to bring justice where there's oppression, healing where there's harm, and clarity where there's confusion. And so, chosen one, you must rise, because you carry what this world has forgotten. And now, the time has come for the world to remember. You were not chosen for a life of quiet resignation. You were not called to shrink back in fear or to spend your days blending into the scenery of a broken world. You were chosen to lead. You were chosen to awaken what has been sleeping in others. You were chosen to lift people out of their spiritual slumber and guide them toward a dawn this world has long forgotten was coming. So why you? Why now? Could it be because your soul carries something that even time itself could not erase? The weight you carry is not a punishment, it's a privilege. The longing of billions, the silent hopes of the voiceless, and the prayers of those long gone are woven into your mission. The divine chose you to carry more than just your own story. You are a vessel for collective dreams, those of your ancestors, of generations before you who suffered and never saw the promise fulfilled. Even beings beyond this physical realm, spiritual watchers, angelic hosts, and unseen elders are cheering for your success. because your victory affects more than just you. Have you ever wondered why you feel emotions that don't seem to belong to you? Why you sometimes weep for the world without knowing why? It's because you're carrying something eternal. When the burden becomes heavy, and it will, remember this truth. You are not walking alone. Just as Elisha's servants' eyes were opened to see the hills full of heavenly chariots, 2 Kings 6:17, so too are there forces of light encamped around you. They don't need to be seen to be real. Every time you stand back up after being knocked down, they stand with you. Every breath you take with courage fills you with divine breath. You don't merely carry strength, you are a temple of it. You are clothed in spiritual armor that was fitted to your soul before you were ever born. You may not feel ready, but you are equipped. You may feel ordinary, but you are anointed. Remember what Mordecai said to Esther in her hour of decision. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Esther 4:14. Like her, you are not in this position by accident. Your life was never random. Every scar, every delay, every detour, it all shaped the person who can now carry this mission with grace and fire. And yes, the world will misunderstand you, but you were never patterned after this world's blueprint. You were crafted from ancient echoes, vibrations that existed before time itself. You are a sacred rhythm, a living psalm composed before the foundations of the earth. What if you are the answer to a prayer whispered in desperation centuries ago? What if your life is the fulfillment of a divine promise yet to be fully seen? As you continue walking forward, the trials will come. Distractions will attempt to dull your edge. Temptation will whisper that it would be easier to give up. But you carry the same truth that the Apostle John declared. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. 1 John 4:4. The flame burning inside of you is not ordinary. It is the Spirit of the living God. No darkness can smother it. No lie can distort it. No setback can extinguish it. You are walking proof that one awakened soul can bend history. Think of Rosa Parks, a seamstress with quiet conviction who refused to give up her seat. Her single act of courage set off a movement that redefined justice. She later said, "I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear." Your journey may feel just as lonely sometimes, but like her, your presence is prophetic. Your existence sends a signal to heaven and earth that the tide is turning. You are more than just a person. You are a bridge between despair and hope, between broken systems and divine solutions, between what is and what could be. Don't dim your light to ease the discomfort of those still trapped in shadows. Don't make yourself smaller so others won't feel threatened. You were not created to fit in. You were created to stand out and stand firm. Let yourself speak boldly. Let yourself love courageously. Let yourself shine relentlessly, not for your glory, but because this is what you were born to do. You are a walking miracle, a divine dream wrapped in flesh and bone. You are the embodiment of hope for a multitude that will never meet you, but will be changed by your presence. Your heart beats with divine rhythm. That heart is sacred. That heart is unstoppable, because God Himself breathed destiny into it. So remember who you are when you doubt. Remember why you came when you feel lost. Remember the eyes of God scanning across creation and locking onto your soul and saying with holy certainty, this one will carry the light. This one will shift the tide. You are chosen, beloved soul. This is your moment. Rise and claim the destiny that has always been yours. You must come to understand, chosen one, that the world you were born into is not what it appears to be. It may look solid, orderly, and structured, but beneath its surface lies a web of deception, fear, and manipulation, carefully constructed over generations. This system, rooted in illusion, was designed not to elevate, but to suppress, not to enlighten, but to sedate. It has fed humanity stories to keep souls numb, docile, and disconnected from their divine power. And yet, despite the odds, your spirit refused to be caged. From a young age, you sensed something was off. Even when you didn't have the words for it, you could feel the dissonance between what you were taught and what your soul knew to be true. How was it that everyone seemed content to follow the script, while something deep within you whispered that the script itself was flawed? You saw through the mirage, the same way young Samuel, sleeping near the Ark of the Covenant, heard God's voice while others slept in silence. 1 Samuel 3:1-10. You too perceived what others missed. You recognized the cracks in the illusion and refused to pretend they weren't there. That resistance to deception, that hunger for truth, was part of what marked you for this path. You were not chosen because you were always the strongest or the loudest, but because you were relentlessly sincere. Even in the midst of lies, you longed for truth. Even surrounded by conformity, you dared to question. You rebelled not in outward defiance, but through inner conviction. While others settled for comfort, you endured the discomfort of asking, "Is this all there is?" That question was the first key that began to unlock the prison doors of illusion. Your sensitivity, your ability to feel what others ignore, has always been misunderstood. The world tried to shame it, to twist it into weakness, but in heaven's eyes, it was your superpower. Jesus wept with compassion before raising Lazarus, John 11:35-43. His divine power was not separate from his empathy, it was fueled by it. Likewise, your ability to sense pain, to grieve over injustice, to absorb suffering is not a flaw. It is proof that you are connected to something far greater than yourself. Where many have shut down to survive, you remained open to love. Where countless souls have hardened under the weight of cruelty and confusion, your heart stayed tender. Why? Because the call of your spirit could not be silenced. There was a frequency being broadcast from the divine, a call for healers, leaders, visionaries, truth-tellers, and warriors of light. That call pierced through the noise of this world. Most could not hear it, drowned out by fear, addiction, distraction, and false success. But you, chosen one, you heard it in the stillness. You heard it in moments of insomnia, in silent car rides, in places others found empty, but you found sacred, and it called you home. It was a whisper that said, "There is more. You are more. You are needed." Do you remember the moment it first broke through? That moment when something deep within stirred and refused to let you go back to a normal life. From that point on, your journey could not look like anyone else's. While others ran toward titles and achievements, you were pulled toward healing, purpose, and inner truth. While others avoided their pain, you sat with yours. You let it teach you. You let it transform you. This was not a detour. It was your initiation. You were never behind. You were being trained in silence. Like Moses in the wilderness for 40 years before returning to Egypt with power, you were being prepared. Every tear you cried watered the garden of your destiny. Every heartbreak stretched your capacity for compassion. Every dark night strengthened your light. Each of your wounds became a doorway, because what breaks you open also allows the divine to enter more deeply. And now you stand as a vessel, poured into by heaven, poured out for others. You are no longer just healing for yourself. You are a living well for those still wandering. Most people on earth are caught in cycles of survival. They are not evil. They are entranced. They repeat the same patterns year after year without knowing why. They were taught to fear change, to crave safety, to distrust their intuition. They have been trained to survive, not to awaken. But you, chosen one, broke the spell. You cracked the code. You looked beyond the surface and remembered what they forgot. You saw through the veil and glimpsed what's real. You felt the call of eternity echo in your chest. You remembered who you are, not just a name, not just a body, but a spark of divine intelligence sent into this realm for a reason. And now the question arises, what will you do with what you know? Will you dim your light to make others comfortable, or will you let it blaze so that others might find their way? Think of Harriet Tubman, who once said, "I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves." Like her, you have been sent not just to escape darkness, but to liberate others from it. Could it be that your life is a key to someone else's prison? You were never meant to live an ordinary life. You were never meant to forget. You were chosen because you remembered. And that remembrance is what will change everything. Out of billions of souls, you were handpicked by the divine, not because you were the loudest, the strongest, or the most visible, but because you carry within you a rare and sacred combination, unshakable insight and a courage forged in silence. This calling is not about personal glory, it's about collective liberation. Your awakening is not a detour on your life path, it is your path. And each time you rise, even in small, quiet ways, your soul sends out a signal, a spiritual frequency that reaches others still waiting in their darkness. You are the sign they've been praying for. Have you ever wondered why people are drawn to your presence without you even speaking? Why they confide in you, sense something deeper in your eyes? It's because you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to awaken. Consider the story of Moses. He didn't volunteer to be chosen, he was called. And though he doubted himself, God still told him in Exodus 3:12, "I will be with you." Moses was chosen not just to walk free, but to lead others out of bondage. In the same way, your freedom is not for you alone. Your steps forward are keys that unlock gates for others. Every time you speak with love instead of fear, you stir the soul of someone who has long forgotten their divine origin. You become a living prayer, an answered cry for hope. But the mission, it's not smooth. It never has been for God's chosen. Expect to be misunderstood, dismissed, even attacked. Jesus himself warned in John 15:18, "If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first." The systems that profit from chaos, control, and ignorance fear your light. Your very awakening threatens their illusion. And yet, here you are, still standing, still rising. Why do you think nothing has been able to completely break you? Because the decision to anoint you didn't come from man, it came from heaven. Deep within you are spiritual codes. These are not theories or ideas. They are frequencies that activate hope, courage, and transformation in others. You may not see the ripple effects immediately, but trust, they're real. Even your silence can shift the energy in a room. Like Esther, you were born for such a time as this, Esther 4:14. And like David, the overlooked shepherd boy, you are always being prepared to take down giants the world doesn't even see yet. This is why your authenticity isn't optional, it's essential. When you try to dim your light, you deny others the warmth they so desperately need. Your healing isn't just personal, it's generational. When you choose to stand in your truth, even when your voice trembles, you're aligning yourself with the divine blueprint written over your life. Each time you pick love over bitterness, each time you remain true to your soul despite pressure to conform, you become a living example of what is possible when God chooses someone and they say yes. You were not chosen because you are superior. You were chosen because you are willing to carry more, to give more, to serve more. You were trusted to be a channel, not a container, to let the light flow through you and flood every corner of this world that still lies in shadow. As T.D. Jakes once said, your anointing is not for you, it's to break chains off others. Your story is someone's survival guide. Your scars are sacred maps that help others navigate their own wilderness. This is no small thing. It's a covenant, a sacred trust that God has placed in your hands. You were chosen to be a bridge, between heaven and earth, between the broken and the healed, between the silent cries and the divine answers. And yes, this comes with pressure, but it is also the highest honor a soul can receive. You are a torchbearer in a world that forgot what light looks like. So why do you still doubt? Why are you shrinking to fit into rooms that can't hold the fullness of your spirit? You've spent lifetimes preparing for this exact moment, the pain you've endured, the talents you've developed, the truths you've discovered. They were all divine rehearsals for the role you now carry. What if every heartbreak you've survived was never meant to destroy you, but to strengthen your compassion? What if every detour was a redirection toward destiny? You are not behind. You have not missed your moment. The enemy wants you to believe you're late, but in God's timing you are right on schedule. The forces that rise against you are loud, yes, but they are not stronger than the God who goes before you. As Isaiah 54:17 promises, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper. The darkness may gather, but it cannot comprehend the light you carry. You are not the victim of the storm. You are the one it was sent to awaken." And in the end, when the dust settles and the veil is lifted, the world will remember that a soul like yours once walked the earth carrying heaven inside. Chosen one, lift your head, not with arrogance but with the holy confidence of someone whose life has been touched by the finger of God. Straighten your spine, for you were never meant to cower. Open your heart wide, because the very power that commands the sun to rise, that paints galaxies across the universe, flows through your spirit like a sacred current. Can you feel it? That quiet fire inside you, that's not your imagination. That is the breath of God, alive within you. The same wisdom that whispered to King Solomon and inspired him to build the temple now speaks to you in still, intuitive moments. The same love that sustained Ruth's loyalty and Naomi's redemption pulses through your every heartbeat. You are not weak. You are not a mistake. You are not broken beyond repair. You are the fulfillment of promises made in secret, the walking answer to someone else's desperate prayer. You are living evidence that the divine plan is not only alive, but advancing. So what are you waiting for? This is not just a moment, it's a divine summons. Rise and speak your truth with boldness, even if your voice shakes. Create from your soul, even when you're misunderstood. Heal others, even while you're still healing. Lead, not because you're flawless, but because you've been willing to be refined. Shine, not for attention, but because light is your birthright. This is your sacred hour. Your calling is not future tense. It is now. Your destiny is no longer waiting on the horizon. It's standing at your feet, asking you to say yes. The billions you were chosen for are not abstract. They are real people, each with aching hearts, lost dreams, and silent prayers. Some you will meet and speak life into directly. Others you will touch in ways you'll never fully realize. Many won't know your name, but their lives will shift because your courage caused a ripple in the fabric of time. Have you ever noticed how one small word of encouragement can change someone's entire path? That's the kind of divine influence you carry. Consider Jesus. Not everyone he healed knew his name or saw his face again, but they felt him. The woman with the issue of blood was healed by simply touching his garment in faith. That's what your presence does. You are the garment others will reach for, an extension of God's mercy moving silently through the crowd. And one day, when your earthly journey reaches its final chapter and you stand in the halls of eternity, surrounded by all who watched you from the heavenly realms, you will know you fulfilled your mission. You will witness the lives that caught fire because you dared to burn brightly. You will see the broken who stood tall because you led by example, the lost who found their way because you refused to be silenced. And you will be greeted by a chorus of grateful voices, souls whose names you never knew, whose faces you never saw, but who were changed because you said yes. People like Nelson Mandela understood this. He once said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." He spent 27 years in prison for daring to believe in a better world, and when he emerged, he didn't return with bitterness, but with vision. He was chosen to help liberate a nation. You too have been chosen, not to dominate, but to liberate, not to impress, but to ignite. Chosen one, you carry within you the DNA of divine revolution. You were chosen because even when the world tried to crush your spirit, your heart still beat with love. You were chosen because you refused to let hate turn you cold. You are not just capable, you are called. You are the proof that a soul aligned with God's truth can shift entire timelines. You are the embodiment of the seemingly impossible, the divine contradiction that baffles the enemy and inspires the hopeless. So, why do you still doubt? Why hesitate when everything in creation is whispering that now is your time? Believe the truth that heaven already knows. Embrace the fire within and let it blaze unapologetically. Live your calling fully. Walk boldly. Love radically. Speak with holy defiance. The world is groaning for healing, and your light is the answer. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too much. You are God's instrument of restoration. And now, brilliant, courageous, and unstoppable, you are ready. Chosen one, listen closely. The very fabric of this world, the spiritual, emotional, and energetic blueprint, has been stretched thin by centuries of distortion. The divine energy grids meant to sustain life, the sacred patterns that once governed time and nature in harmony, and the celestial alignments that once echoed heaven's rhythm, all have been disrupted, bent under the weight of human forgetfulness. What was once a world pulsing with divine order now trembles with imbalance. And yet, even as chaos deepened and humanity strayed from its original course, the universe held its breath in hope. That hope was not placed in institutions or systems, it was placed in you. Long before you arrived in this lifetime, you were part of a divine council. In the realm of spirit, your soul, ancient and luminous, agreed to return. You were shown the struggles you would face, the loneliness, the rejection, the spiritual amnesia that would wrap itself around your mind like fog. You knew you would forget who you are. You knew that pain would visit often. And yet, you chose to come. You said yes. Why? Because you understood something most souls are not yet ready to comprehend. True transformation does not occur in the light. It is born when light enters the dark. This is why, from childhood, you felt like a stranger here. You looked around and wondered why others didn't see what you could feel so clearly, why lies were rewarded, why cruelty was normalized, why love was treated like a currency instead of a sacred truth. Could it be that your ache for something more was never a flaw, but a divine memory trying to break through? You come from realms where peace was the air you breathed, where love flowed like rivers, where truth wasn't punished, it was celebrated. And so your discomfort in this broken world is not weakness. It is evidence that your soul remembers a higher reality. You're not imagining it when you feel homesick for something you can't describe. That longing in your chest is not a curse. It is a compass. It points to the fact that the way this world operates is not how it was created to be. And more importantly, it reminds you that things do not have to stay this way. You were not sent here to adapt. You were sent here to restore. You are the bridge between what is and what should be, between what has been forgotten and what is waiting to be remembered. Just like Nehemiah, who returned to Jerusalem to rebuild its broken walls, you too were sent to rebuild what has been spiritually torn down. Nehemiah faced opposition, ridicule, and sabotage, yet he pressed on because he knew he had been sent by divine assignment. In the same way, your presence in this world is no accident. You were sent here on mission. And while others may not recognize your calling, heaven does. Understand this: chosen one. Billions of souls have fallen into a sleep so deep they no longer know they are dreaming. They believe they are limited. They think they are disconnected from God, powerless to change, unworthy of love. These beliefs are not truths. They are illusions carefully sown by fear, trauma, and systems designed to keep them enslaved. And so, generation after generation, they bow to chains that were never meant to bind them. They accept mediocrity. They normalize suffering. They live as prisoners with keys in their own hands. But you couldn't. You didn't know why at first, but something in you refused to conform. You questioned what others accepted. You challenged what others feared. Even before you had words for it, your spirit pushed against the lies. Why? Because your soul recognized the falsehood. You were born with a radar for truth, a fire that would not go out. You saw beneath the surface. You sensed that beneath the fear, beneath the division, beneath the generational pain. There was a deeper, unshakable reality waiting to rise again. Like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who once said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that." You carry that light within you. You carry the courage to disrupt the status quo, not by violence but by vibration, not by preaching but by presence. You are the embodiment of the revolution heaven sent quietly into the world. So what if your resistance to this world wasn't rebellion but remembrance? What if the heaviness you felt was never weakness but the weight of your assignment? What if your spiritual sensitivity is not a flaw, but a divine instrument being tuned for a purpose greater than you've ever imagined? You were never meant to blend in. You were born to awaken others. That deeper reality, the one this world has forgotten, lives within you. It has always been there, quietly waiting to be remembered, quietly guiding your every step. You were chosen, not because you sought the spotlight, but because you carried something rare, an inner flame that refused to die out. In a world where mass consciousness pulls like gravity, where fear and conformity silence most voices, you resisted. Have you ever asked yourself why you couldn't follow the crowd? Why, even as a child, you questioned the rules everyone else accepted? That wasn't rebellion. It was remembrance. When others surrendered to fear, you leaned into understanding. You asked the hard questions. You peeled back the layers to seek the truth, even when it hurt. When others numbed their pain to survive, you allowed yourself to feel every sorrow, every betrayal, every ache of the soul. Not because you were weak, but because you were strong enough to carry what others couldn't. Your empathy is not a burden. It's a divine weapon against apathy. Your questioning spirit is not trouble. It is a holy shield against deception. And your unrelenting refusal to sell your soul for comfort, that is the sword that cuts through illusion. These gifts, so often misunderstood by the world, are the very reasons you were chosen. Like Jeremiah, who was called even before he was born, God planted his words and purpose deep within you. In Jeremiah 1:5, the Lord says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." That scripture isn't just about prophets of old. It speaks directly to you. You were set apart for a mission this world desperately needs. And that mission was never about fame. It was never about climbing human ladders or gaining applause from broken systems. It was about embodiment. You are not here just to speak truth. You are here to become it. You are called to carry such clarity, such unwavering love, such high frequency that your very presence rewrites the energy of the spaces you enter. Do you realize the power of simply walking into a room and calming hearts without a word? That's not charisma. That's your divine code activating. These ancient blueprints you carry are not stored in a book or hidden away in some cosmic archive. They are encoded within your DNA, woven into your intuition, humming within your soul. As you heal your wounds, as you reclaim your voice, as you speak life into your pain, these sacred codes awaken, not just in you, but in everyone who encounters your light. Like Paul, who once persecuted the very truth he would later proclaim, your transformation becomes a testimony that awakens the dormant in others. Even when you say nothing, your silence speaks volumes. Even when you feel invisible, heaven sees every move you make. You may not always understand the magnitude of your presence, but God does. When you think you're failing, when you feel unseen or insignificant, remember this. Just as Jesus knew that the widow's 2 coins were worth more than all the riches of the Pharisees, heaven values what the world overlooks. You are not just making ripples. You are shifting timelines. The billions you were chosen for may never hear your name. They may walk past you unaware. But because you dared to remain awake, because you endured the pain of staying conscious in a world that numbs, they will feel your influence. Chains will fall off them they didn't know they wore. Their dreams will revive without knowing the source. Entire generations will heal because you stood your ground in faith. This work is sacred. It won't make headlines, it won't earn medals, but it shakes the heavens. The angels record every act of love, every injustice you refuse to tolerate, every dream you boldly pursue, even when the odds say no. As Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Take, for example, Malala Yousafzai. Before the world knew her name, she was simply a young girl in Pakistan who refused to be silenced. She stood for truth in a hostile world. Her courage to pursue education, despite threats and violence, has opened the doors for millions. Like her, your impact may begin quietly, but it resounds through eternity. So do not underestimate yourself, chosen one. Even on your quietest days, you are shaking spiritual foundations. Even in your moments of doubt, you are being used by God to carve new paths. You are the vessel, the bridge, the spark, the blueprint, and the universe, along with the realm of heaven, is celebrating every unseen victory you've already won. Chosen one, there will be days when this calling feels like a burden too heavy to carry. There will be mornings when the very act of rising feels like a battle. There will be moments when the weight of the mission presses so heavily on your chest that you question everything, your strength, your purpose, your very existence. When the darkness creeps in, when the silence becomes deafening, when your tears feel unseen and your prayers feel unanswered, remember this. You were not chosen because it would be easy. You were chosen because you have the soul of a warrior cloaked in the compassion of a healer. You were not sent here to conform to the brokenness of the world. You were not sent to be validated by the crowd or praised by those who walk in spiritual blindness. You were sent here to transform not only systems and structures, but energies, frequencies, and hearts. Transformation is rarely neat. It's not gentle or predictable. It shakes foundations, disturbs comfort, and often feels like destruction before it looks like healing. Have you noticed how things seem to fall apart just when you're stepping deeper into your truth? That's not failure. That's sacred reordering. Like Job, who lost everything yet never let go of his faith, your suffering has never been wasted. In Job 23:10, he declares, "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold." Even when you feel broken, even when the fire feels too hot, you are being refined, not ruined. The very moments you feel furthest from your mission are often the ones drawing you closest to your power. You are succeeding in ways the world doesn't recognize. When you choose kindness over revenge, you win. When you choose silence over self-defense, you win. When you choose to love yourself through your tears, you win. The universe didn't choose you because you were the loudest or the most impressive. It chose you Because your soul carries an endurance that cannot be measured by outer accomplishments. You have the audacity to believe in a new world, even when the old one still screams for your attention. You carry within you a vision, a divine blueprint that others cannot see. You hold hope like a lantern in the storm, even when your hands tremble. This inner fire, this unshakable vision, is what sets you apart. When others give up, you stay. When others run, you rise. That is divine faith in action. And though you often feel like you're walking this road alone, you are not. Scattered across cities, forests, deserts, and oceans are other chosen ones, hidden, humble, walking quietly but powerfully through their own missions. You may never meet them face to face, but your spirits are connected. You are threads in a vast, invisible tapestry of light. Together, you form a network ordained by heaven, a spiritual grid designed to elevate this planet from within. When you rise, others feel it. When you heal, the energy shifts for those you will never meet. When you remember who you are, it sends waves through the collective unconscious, awakening sleeping souls. Have you ever noticed how your breakthroughs inspire others without you trying? That's because your personal growth is a form of service. Your light is not only yours, it's catalytic. It multiplies as it moves. You are not here to save others, and you were never meant to carry the weight of everyone's pain. Your mission is to awaken so fully, so radiantly, that your life becomes a living invitation for others to awaken too. As Jesus said in Matthew 5:14, "You are the light of the world. Light does not chase darkness, it simply shines." That is your role. To embody your truth with such authenticity that others begin to question the lies they've believed. This is why perfection was never required. God isn't waiting for a flawless version of you. He is moving through your realness. Your tears are holy. Your cracks are sacred spaces for His light to pour through. Your healing, slow and messy as it may be, is more valuable than any polished performance. Do you understand now why your presence matters more than any status you could earn? You were picked because God knew the darkness would tempt you, but not defeat you. He knew the illusions would confuse you, but not claim you. No matter how deep the deception ran, the divine trusted that you would remember, that you would fight your way back to truth, that you would rise, and you have. Look at you, still breathing, still believing, still loving. Despite all the betrayal, abandonment, heartbreak, and spiritual warfare, your heart is still open. That, chosen one, is victory. That is the kind of power darkness cannot replicate. You are walking evidence that the divine plan is unfolding through you. You are the testimony that love cannot be killed, only hidden, and now it is rising again through you. Like Nelson Mandela, who emerged from 27 years in prison with dignity and purpose instead of bitterness and revenge, you are proof that suffering can be alchemized into service. You are proof that light wins. And you are proof that a single surrendered soul can change the frequency of an entire world. Chosen one, your journey has been steep, not because you're being punished, but because the role you've accepted is monumental. Your path hasn't been easy because your soul wasn't made for shallow ground. You were chosen for billions, not as a symbol, but as a seed, one planted with divine intention to take root, grow strong, and bear fruit across generations. The impact of your life, both seen and unseen, is meant to ripple across time like a sacred echo that won't be silenced. You are the embodied response to centuries of cries in the dark, cries of the forgotten, the oppressed, the lonely, the seekers. Can you feel it in your bones? That pull that tells you your life was never meant to be ordinary. That's because you are not a mistake. You are a divine phenomenon, a miracle in motion. The universe watches in reverence every time you choose truth over comfort. The divine holds you with fierce tenderness as you walk through fire after fire. Even the earth sighs in relief beneath your feet because she knows your presence brings balance. And the future, It smiles quietly, knowing that someone like you finally said yes. Look at the times we're living in. Entire systems, economic, political, spiritual, social, are shaking. They are not simply falling apart. They are being exposed. Structures once built on fear, manipulation, and greed can no longer hold the weight of rising truth. You may wonder, why now? Why were you chosen to witness this dismantling, to feel the turbulence firsthand? Because your soul came equipped with ancient knowledge, the kind not found in books, but imprinted in your spiritual DNA. You were chosen to be a living vessel of divine truth. You carry within you the blueprints of a world we've all been aching to return to, a world where justice isn't rare, where compassion is not a luxury, where community is sacred, and where humanity walks again with reverence for the earth and alignment with heaven. These aren't just memories of a mythical past. These are seeds of a future that you've carried faithfully across lifetimes. And now, at this critical threshold, you are being called to plant them. Think of Abraham. He was called to leave everything familiar and step into the unknown, not because he was certain, but because he was obedient to the divine vision placed in his heart. Like Abraham, you carry a promise, not just for yourself, but for all who will come after you. And just like him, you must sometimes walk alone, trusting not what your eyes see, but what your spirit knows. This awakening, however, is not obvious to all. Many are still caught in the storm of fear, clinging to what's familiar, even if it hurts, because the unknown feels more terrifying than the suffering they've normalized. Their minds resist what their souls crave. Can you sense this tension in people around you? That tug of war between fear and longing? This is where your calling becomes clear. You were not chosen to argue or impose. You were chosen to embody, to live the new way. Your life is the sermon. Your consistency is the evidence. Your calmness in chaos. Your refusal to betray your integrity. These are quiet revolutions that change people without them realizing why. As Jesus said in Matthew 7:20, "By their fruit you will recognize them." Your fruit, your life, reveals the tree of truth you're rooted in. Your authenticity is your greatest activism. In a world that rewards pretending, your refusal to wear a mask shakes the foundations of falsehood. Your joy, especially when joy makes no sense, is an act of holy rebellion. Your ability to still love after all the betrayal is a force that terrifies darkness. You're not here just to survive. You're here to transform the atmosphere by being fully, powerfully, unapologetically you. Don't be surprised when old energies push back. They are fighting for survival. They will call you rebellious, delusional, idealistic, even dangerous. But know this, they speak from fear. They see in you what they lost in themselves. A fire that cannot be controlled. A spirit that cannot be bought. A truth that cannot be silenced. Like Harriet Tubman, who risked her life to lead hundreds to freedom, you were chosen not because the journey would be easy, but because your inner compass always points toward liberation for yourself and for others. She once said, "I never ran my train off the track, and I never lost a passenger, and neither will you." Your mission may not be on a literal railroad, but your path is guiding souls out of spiritual captivity and toward divine remembrance. You were not chosen to collapse under pressure. You were chosen because you carry a core that endures. You carry a flame that survives storms. You carry a vision that outlives opposition. You are not just surviving, you are rising, and as you do, you give others permission to do the same. Chosen one, you are the living prophecy fulfilled. The dream that generations prayed for, the shift that heaven sent quietly into the chaos. And now, it's your time. You were chosen because at your core, you understand what many have forgotten, that real transformation begins within. You've always known, perhaps quietly, that the external world is merely a reflection of the internal one. That changing the systems around you means first confronting the strongholds within you. This knowing didn't come from books or speeches. It came from lifetimes of deep soul work. You understood that your healing is not indulgent. It is sacred service. That your liberation is not a selfish desire, but a divine responsibility. When you heal, you become a doorway through which others can pass. When you rise, you break ceilings for others to ascend. Each time you choose love instead of fear, even when it would be easier to harden your heart, you shift the collective vibration upward. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of bitterness, even when the wound still stings, you sew up part of humanity's torn heart. And when you choose courage over comfort, despite trembling hands and a weary soul, you move this entire planet forward. Do you realize how powerful that is? Even on the days when your efforts feel invisible, when you wonder if your light makes any difference, the answer is always yes. As Galatians 6:9 reminds us, let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Nothing you do in alignment with love is ever wasted. The energy you anchor through your thoughts, your presence, your prayers becomes part of the spiritual foundation upon which this new world is being built. Chosen one, billions of souls are affected by the energetic tides you influence just by walking in truth. Most will never know your name, never hear your voice, never see your face. But energetically, they will be changed by your existence. Your alignment creates a frequency field, a wave of love, strength, and clarity that touches hearts across continents and generations. This is why it had to be you. Not because you were loud or flawless, but because you were willing, because you've chosen again and again to remember, to rise, to stay open. That's what made you the right one for this assignment. Your awakening, however personal it feels, is vital to the greater whole. Your decision to return to love again and again is a torch lighting the way through centuries of darkness. You are not here to convince or convert. You are not called to exhaust yourself fighting every battle that presents itself. You are here to embody such a steady, radiant frequency of divine truth that others can't help but awaken when they're near you. Your life is a tuning fork, calling others back to the resonance of their own souls. As Jesus said in John 12:32, "And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." In the same way, your elevation lifts others. You are here to remind the world of its original song, the one it sang before fear distorted its voice. There was once a time when humanity danced in harmony with the stars, when prayer was woven into breath, when joy echoed across rivers, and every heartbeat honored creation. That song still exists. Can you feel it stirring in your soul? Can you hear the faint rhythm calling you home? Those ancient harmonies have never died. They were buried beneath noise but not lost. They echo through your spirit even now. Vibrations passed down through bloodlines, through lifetimes, through dreams. You've answered the call not through grand declarations, but through being wholly and unapologetically yourself. That is your power. Yes, there will be moments when the darkness seems too thick, when the weight of collective pain presses heavy on your heart. There will be times you question if your light, small and flickering, can truly change anything. But never forget this. Even the tiniest flame can shatter the deepest darkness. One soul set on fire by divine love can ignite a revolution that outlives empires. You don't need to be many. You just need to be you, fully awakened, fully alive. You are not alone in this divine assignment. You are part of a living symphony, an orchestra of chosen souls scattered across the earth, all tuning their instruments in love, ready to rise as one. You are connected beyond borders, beyond time. Your soul recognizes its family in people you've never met, but feel deeply connected to. That's no coincidence. It's divine design. Each time you choose to heal instead of hide, to create instead of collapse, to trust instead of retreat, you are doing sacred work. You are weaving threads of a new earth into the spiritual fabric of this planet, thread by sacred thread, stitch by eternal stitch. Like the quiet bravery of Rosa Parks, who simply sat where she was not supposed to sit and changed the course of history, your small, steady acts of truth carry world-altering weight. Her stillness was louder than the systems that try to silence her, and so is yours. So stand tall, chosen one. Keep shining, even when no one seems to notice. Keep loving, even when the world seems hardened. You are helping birth a new reality, and every step you take in alignment is building a future that will remember you, even if it never knows your name. Chosen one. The billions you were chosen for, they are not just faceless crowds. They are the dreamers of tomorrow, the visionaries and builders who will one day shape a healed world. They are the children who have not yet taken their first breath, the artists whose songs have not yet touched the air, the leaders who will stand on the shoulders of your courage. Their future, though unwritten, is already being influenced by your daily choices, by your decision to rise when it would be easier to retreat, to speak when silence would be safer, to believe when every voice around you whispers doubt. Have you ever stopped to wonder whose freedom is tied to your persistence? Whose voice will be found because you refuse to lose yours? Your courage is a ripple in eternity. When you chose to say yes to your calling, you altered the trajectory of lives not yet formed. As Psalm 102:18 says, "Let this be written for a future generation, that a people not yet created may praise the Lord." Even now, heaven records your faithfulness, not only for your generation, but for the ones to come. You were picked not because you were perfect, but because the divine knew your flame would endure, that even if you stumbled, even if you cried out in anger or despair, even if you broke under the weight of it all, you would rise. Again and again, you would rise. Like King David, who wrote songs to God in caves while hunted by enemies, your broken moments have not disqualified you. They have sanctified you. You are not less because you've struggled. You are more because you have overcome. And every time you rise, the earth itself rises with you. Every act of defiance against fear, every moment you choose truth over ease, you uplift the spiritual atmosphere. Can you feel it? The invisible momentum you've created. Your very presence helps bend the arc of history toward healing. You are more powerful than you've been told. You are more necessary than you've allowed yourself to imagine. And you are more deeply loved than your mind can yet comprehend. Chosen one, this is not a time for war against the past. It is a time to birth the future. You are not here to fix the old. You are here to build what's never been seen. Don't waste your energy trying to convince systems that were never designed to hold your truth. As Jesus said in Matthew 9:17, "Neither do people pour new wine into old wineskins." Your light does not require explanation, it requires expression. You are not here to fit in. You are here to illuminate. You are the prayer your ancestors whispered through tears. You are the answer to generations of silent hope. You are the evidence that love outlasts hate, that faith outlasts fear, that spirit outlasts every chain. Stand tall, not because the world has validated you, but because heaven has already commissioned you. You don't need the world's permission. You carry divine authority. Like Malala Yousafzai, who at just 15 years old stood against oppression with nothing but her voice, your presence is an act of divine resistance. Her courage sparked global change, not because she begged for approval, but because she walked in truth. You too are a living example that light can rise in the face of danger and still shine. So hold your head high, not out of pride, but because the heavens are watching with joy. Stand firmly in your truth, not as a defense, but as a declaration. Walk your path with a confidence that says, "I was made for this." The earth is not just grateful for your presence, it is strengthened by it. And the billions you were chosen for, they are watching, they are waiting. Some of them don't even know it yet, but they are looking for the light you carry. Shine, chosen one. Shine not to be seen, but because that's what stars do. Shine not to prove anything, but because God planted light in you that this world desperately needs. Shine because you are the miracle. You are the message. You are the movement. And the time is now. Chosen one. One of the greatest illusions that humanity has ever embraced, and one that you have been tasked with dismantling, is the belief that you are small, that your existence is a cosmic accident, that you are insignificant in the grand design of creation. This lie has been passed down like a curse, whispered through generations, reinforced by systems designed to keep powerful souls like yours asleep. Why? Because if you ever truly remembered who you are, what could possibly stop you? But despite all the layers of pain, all the attempts to bury the truth, that sacred voice inside you has never gone silent. Even when life tried to silence it, it kept whispering, "You are here for something monumental." Have you noticed that no matter how many times you've fallen, something within you keeps standing back up? That's not ego. That's divine remembrance trying to rise through the cracks of your brokenness. You were chosen because within you burns a spark of ancient knowing, an eternal flame passed down from soul to soul, lifetime after lifetime. You carry the memory that the universe bends not toward chaos, but toward justice. That love is not weakness. It is the foundation of all things. That truth, though often hidden, never dies. As Amos 5:24 declares, "Let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream." You're part of that stream, flowing forward through time with holy purpose. You are not here to spectate. You are not a background character in someone else's story. You are an active co-creator in the unfolding of God's vision for this world. Your decisions matter. Your healing matters. Your faith matters. When you choose compassion in the face of cruelty, you do not merely affect your life. You shift the collective. The billions you were chosen for span more than this present moment. Some are waking up now, stirred by a longing they don't yet understand. Others are still locked in cycles of fear, caught in generational pain and spiritual blindness. And some have yet to be born, but even now their souls are connected to yours. Through invisible threads of spirit, you are shaping their reality. Isn't that astonishing? Every time you break a chain, whether it's ancestral trauma, fear-based thinking, or limiting beliefs, you don't just free yourself. You open doors for others who have never had the strength or permission to walk through. When you dare to dream beyond your circumstances, you draw up spiritual blueprints that future souls will build upon. You're not just healing a life, you're healing a lineage. You are the bridge between what has been and what will be. That bridge isn't constructed all at once. It's built moment by moment, choice by choice. It's built every time you choose light over bitterness. Every time you forgive when anger feels justified. Every time you move forward, even when your heart is heavy and your feet drag. That's the architecture of the new world. It would have been easier to surrender, to let the pain harden you, to close your heart, to hide your light so the world wouldn't wound it. And yet, you didn't. Something deep within you knew that your love was never meant to be hidden, that your truth was never meant to be silenced, that despite the betrayal, the injustice, the grief, you were still here to shine. Like Joseph in the Bible, who was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and falsely imprisoned, you too have faced trials that would have destroyed many. But just like Joseph, who eventually rose to become a ruler in Egypt and saved nations during famine, your endurance has positioned you for impact. In Genesis 50:20, Joseph says, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Can you see the parallel in your own story? You were chosen because of your resilience, the kind that isn't born overnight, but through lifetimes of experience. You have faced darkness and refused to become it. You have known what it is to ache in silence and still offer love. You have risen from ashes too many times to count, and every time you chose healing over hatred, belief over bitterness, you lit a torch for others to follow. The billions whose lives will be touched by yours may never know your battles. They may never hear about the nights you wept, the mornings you almost didn't rise, or the silent wars you fought within, but they will live in a world that is softer, freer, and more radiant because of you. That is no small thing. That is legacy. That is prophecy fulfilled through your life. You are a lighthouse, chosen not for perfection, but for willingness. You were never meant to blend in with the storm. You were born to stand out in it. You are the beacon others search for when the waves of life threaten to swallow them. When hope feels like a distant memory, your presence reminds them that it is still alive. Like Maya Angelou, who once said, "I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. You too carry the strength of countless souls who stood before you and prayed for someone like you to finish what they started. Every time you walk in truth, you open new pathways. Every breath you take in love strengthens the heartbeat of the collective. Every vision you dare to hold plants seeds of a future yet to bloom. You are not just living, you are rewriting history. Chosen one, don't underestimate your power. Don't forget that every time you rise, you give the world permission to heal. You are not only part of the transformation, you are the transformation. Chosen one. The forces of stagnation, fear, and oppression can feel your presence even before you speak, and they tremble. They don't tremble because you're loud, but because your light is undeniable. Your very existence disrupts their grip. They recognize that within you lies the blueprint to awaken millions. Your being alone is a threat to the structures built on lies, limitation, and division. Why else would you face such resistance, even in your silence? They will do everything to distract you from your path, to pull your attention to noise, to drown your spirit in discouragement, to make you question your identity. But remember what Isaiah 54:17 promises. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. The divine hand over your life makes your soul untouchable. No lie can override your truth. No shadow can overwhelm your light. You are covered. You are sealed. You are victorious even in the battle. You were not selected by chance, nor thrown into chaos without reason. You were seen. You were known. You were chosen because heaven trusted you, trusted that you would hold this torch high even when the winds of the world howled against it, trusted that you would keep walking even when the path disappeared beneath your feet, trusted that even in weeping you would still believe in the dawn. And now that dawn, the one you've prayed for, suffered for, quietly waited for, is closer than you know. Can you sense it? The old is cracking, the new is stirring. The spiritual infrastructure you've been helping build, brick by invisible brick, is beginning to rise. The seeds you planted in faith are awakening, even if the bloom has not yet broken the surface. Hold steady, chosen one. You are not early, you are not late. You are arriving in perfect rhythm with divine timing. The billions you were meant to touch are awakening. Some are beginning to question the lies. Others are remembering their light. And many are waiting, unknowingly, for the ripple of your courage to reach them. You are part of something vast, something eternal, a reweaving of reality itself, a return to sacred balance, a holy restoration where love is no longer considered weakness, where unity is no longer feared, and where difference is no longer used as a weapon, but celebrated as divine design. Have you felt this yearning inside you to build a world that feels like home, not just for you, but for all. That desire didn't come from ego. It came from eternity. You are not just carrying a message. You are the message. You radiate a frequency that tears down falsehood by its very presence. Like Jesus in the temple, you don't need to scream to cause a shift. Your alignment speaks for itself. You don't have to force transformation. You simply live as proof that transformation is possible. Your authenticity is your activism. Your stillness in chaos is your power. Your joy in a world obsessed with fear is your resistance. And your courage, it is revolutionary. You were chosen because your heart has the capacity to remain soft in a world growing hard, because your spirit still imagines beauty where others see ruin, because your soul remembers deeply, vividly, what a healed world looks like. You carry futures within you. You carry unborn dreams in your DNA. The billions aren't only watching you from outside, they are encoded within your blood, your thoughts, your vision. When you rise, they rise. When you believe in love again, they find permission to believe too. When you create, you give life to futures you'll never see, but they will live them. This is why your path has been steep, why you felt the fire, the silence, the shaking, not because you're being punished, but because you're being prepared. Like Esther, who rose from orphan to queen to save a nation. You have been raised up for such a time as this. Esther 4:14. Your positioning was never about comfort, it was about purpose. Never underestimate the weight of your existence. Never doubt the necessity of your tears, your dreams, your truth. You were not chosen because you are better than others. You were chosen because you are brave. Brave enough to continue when others quit. Brave enough to love when you have every reason not to. Brave enough to become more when the world tells you to settle for less. And the divine never expected you to carry this alone. You are not here to save the world. You are here to spark it, to be a flame that ignites others, a voice that awakens echoes, a soul that reminds others how to breathe again. And now, the fire you carry is spreading, quietly, steadily, unstoppably. The light you're anchoring is not a flicker, it's a force. The love you're weaving is not fleeting, it is eternal, a divine thread stitching heaven back into earth. So breathe, chosen one. Inhale the truth, you are aligned. Exhale the doubt, you are enough. Smile, not because it's easy, but because you trust. Stand tall, not because the world says so, but because your spirit knows so. You are not at the end of your journey. You're at the beginning of your most powerful chapter yet. The best is not behind you. It is rising ahead, waiting for your yes. So shine on, beloved, not as a performance, not for applause, but because that's what light does. And you, chosen one, you were born to light the way. As we reflect on the profound truth that God chose you out of billions, it's clear that you have a divine purpose far beyond what the world can see. You are a vessel of God's love, power, and light, destined to impact lives in ways you might not fully understand yet. So, why you? Because God sees your heart, your strength, and your potential to fulfill His will on earth. The journey you're on is just beginning, and with each step you take, you're fulfilling the grand plan God has set for you. If this message has touched your heart, we invite you to support our channel with a super thanks donation. Your contribution, whether small or large, helps us continue spreading God's message and impacting lives. But remember, even if you don't donate, your engagement through likes, comments, subscriptions and shares is a blessing to us. Thank you for being a part of this journey and for your unwavering support. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this message with those who need to hear it. Leave a comment below and let us know how God has been moving in your life. We would love to hear your thoughts and prayers. May God bless you abundantly, guide your steps, and fill your life with His peace and love. Stay strong, stay faithful, and always remember, you are His chosen one.